Sup, coffee blerds. I am about to do a coffee experiment with Kelin Bradley. Shit, what's your name? Bradley. Damn. Today I have Kelin Bradley as a guest on the show. You're about to see us do a coffee experiment with the Moka Pot. We're first going to try starting off our brew with hot water in the pot, and then cold water, and then we're gonna do a third test and change the grind size a little bit. We're both using Coffee Black's Gucci Mane coffee for this experiment. We also talk a lot. We talk for nearly 2.5 hours. It was wonderful to learn more than I expected to in this conversation. So stay tuned. I hope you learn something too.
Okay, so what are we doing today? It's going to be very different than you think it was going to be.
It's going to be different from what I was thinking. So why don't you tell me what we're doing today?
No. I'm down for whatever, but I just know. Because it was funny. I told people I was doing something with you, and they were like, I don't think she knows you. And it's going to be very different from what she's expecting.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And I was like, what? Like, it's cool. Like, she wasn't just, and they were just like, nah, bro, you're a little off. So it'd be interesting to see how you feel after this is done.
Okay, yeah, I'm curious too. All right, we're going to be testing what kind of difference it makes to start with cold water in the Moka Pot versus really hot water.
What made you pick the Moka Pot?
It's just one of the several things I've been interested in. Pretty much anytime I see a video of a brewing technique, I get really curious about trying it. I saw like several videos, just about half of them saying that starting with cold water was the best thing to do, and then the other half swearing by starting with hot water. It made me curious.
Okay, cool. Can we discuss before we experiment? Can we come up with our own hypotheses?
Yeah.
Okay, first of all, let's backtrack. I want to know what a blerd is.
All right, a blerd is a black nerd.
Okay, I had to check because you in Chicago. His games, I didn't know if it was like a blood nerd or something like that. I didn't know if y'all had things going on.
Yeah. No. You in Chicago?
You from Chicago?
Yeah, okay. Where are you from?
I'm from LA.
Okay, gotcha.
I live in Miami now, but I'm from LA.
Okay. Yeah, no, it's safe.
You born and raised in Chicago?
I was born in Illinois, like a few hours south of Chicago. My family moved to Houston, and then just a couple years ago, I moved back up north. So
Champaign or something?
Yeah, Champaign. Yeah, usually more people have heard of Champaign than the city right next to it where I'm actually from, Muhammad. You know Muhammad?
Oh, okay. I know that. Wow, that's a very small town.
Yeah. yeah, no one's ever heard of that. So, yeah, this is rare.
No, that's dope. You like Chicago, though? You on the south side?
No, I'm like west side.
It's so interesting to like have this conversation because from the technical side that I've dealt with, I know how many like loorings have been installed in Chicago in the past 2 years. So I'm just questioning, like, I'm curious to see like what is the actual like coffee scene on the ground, because I know from a machinery side, like Chicago is stacked. Like everybody is out there using the top of the line stuff, but like, is it like a big coffee scene?
I didn't start really getting into coffee until I moved to Chicago. So I don't have much to compare it to. I've been a few other places. The shops that I've walked into, it's a lot of people who think they know something about coffee, and you get to talking to them, and then they.
Real fast. Do you like that? I love how like people are like, oh yeah, this is single order. You're like, what's the elevation? What's the process? And they're like, let me get my manager.
Yeah, it's a lot of that.
I think that's a thing that happens in big cities because the coffee education side is a little more spread out. I noticed that in Los Angeles, like there's a huge coffee scene. There's a lot of SCA influence in that coffee scene. But then when I went to like try to get a Q graders class, it was like maybe once every 2 months you can find it. You'd have to go to Northern California. It's a weeks long investment plus lodging, room and board. It's like, you would think that like if you're in a major city like Chicago or a major city like LA, there's an educational hub for these major organizations that create all of this information.
Yeah. There's like a couple coffee shops that reportedly have this like pretty educational, informative like training process. And I don't know anything about those. So I'm really curious to see if those actually live up to the hype.
Where do you feel like the next advancement in coffee is going to come from?
I'm going to steal something that John James Hoffman, I heard saying, I don't think the next innovation is going to come from unlocking some secret in the coffee bean. We've done like a hell of a lot to the coffee bean. That said, I feel like it could come from anywhere. I think it'll be something like I forget what it's being called, like the shifter for coffee grinds. Like that provides something or like set a standard for something that we don't already have. Like, I don't mind that. I like the kind of variability in that. I think that's where it's going to be, where like it creates a standard, an industry that's really reliant on standards.
I definitely agree. I feel is not to like kind of vie for industry sides. Quality control, at least from what I've seen, like to piggyback what you've said, is that more companies are coming up with more efficient ways to distribute high quality. So like now, we're learning that there's so much new information and science that's coming out. I love seeing how companies incorporate that. Like I love how regardless of what we have in the industry, Starbucks created its own standards with so much technical influence. They changed the entire industry. Now I feel like that same thing is happening now all over the place. People are just figuring out new ways to distribute things. Yeah, they're definitely learning new ways to put out products, like down to just like single serve items, even down to like packaging, flushing. I think even in like when we talk about sustainability and they talk about like the supply chain, we focus so much on the farmer and then we know the issues with the barista, but I think like we're going to start seeing a push for like more equality in fields of like packaging, the technical machinery, actual development of the structures and places. Like if you've ever seen like how the wash houses are going, they're starting to get a lot more technically inclined. Brazil is taking off from where their competition with Colombia was with just technical advancement all the way. And I feel like that's where they're able to produce so much more high quality. And I'm seeing the entire industry is pushing towards that. And I don't think it's a bad thing.
Interesting, yeah. I don't know anything about coffee at any point before like brewing it, really, brewing and serving. So roasting, washing, processing, harvesting. Yeah, I'm totally ignorant on all those things. So that's why I need to. Wait, say it again?
So all that's new to you?
Yeah.
Man, we could have had a way cooler experiment, but okay.
Oh man, okay. All right, well we'll schedule something else soon and do whatever you decide.
I'm available for the cause. I'm here for it. So okay. Whenever you want to do anything like this, I'm down. I had questions about the Moka Pot. It's near and dear to me, but like I'm just a curious person. So like when you brought up the thing of hot and cold, I was like, I wasn't that enthused about that experiment at first.
Okay.
As you explain why you want to do it, I'm like, okay, that's cool. We can get into it.
Okay.
I think my biggest thing is like looking at brew methods and ratios and what the drink profile is to be. So one thing that watching you online I've noticed is that you specialize in a drink profile that utilizes a bypass. And one big thing with me with Moka Pot is bypass. It makes a big difference. Oh wait, are we using the same coffee again? Are we supporting Black businesses?
Yeah. What are you using?
It depends. I have some brick pack pre-ground coffee. Actually, is great for Moka Pot, but I also have Bard's coffee. I have not tried it yet. I've never tried the flavor, so it'd be interesting to try this way.
Coffee black. Okay, you keep all your coffee frozen, or just at a certain date?
I freeze all my coffee. Onyx, I love the packaging. They have a wax line bag. A foil line bag is able to limit the amount of aroma that you lose over time. And freezing it does slow down the amount of nitrogen that you lose. So depending upon how cold you go and vacuum sealing, you can make coffee last forever. Like I try to seal it up by the dosage that I'm going to use it, like 20 grams to 25 grams in individual bags. So that you're not reopening it and losing freshness. It's just like you just open what you're going to use right then and boom.
Okay.
Now that we've discussed this, what do you feel like is the most challenging thing to learn from this experiment for the both of us?
Sure. You know what? I was just curious about whether or not I could taste a difference. What I'm looking for is bitterness and sweetness. Sweetness is something I usually never get from the Moka Pot. And bitterness is something that's usually very prevalent.
Okay, so there was a recent experiment we did at Sensory Summit. There was actually a nice little graph that they broke out, and they showed us how the brew method affects certain flavor attributes we look at, as far as like sourness, bitterness, and sweetness.
Okay.
And one thing that was discussed was the ability to enhance sweetness by having a low extraction and a low TDS, like a low yield and a low extraction.
Okay.
That's where they were showing that you were able to produce a sweeter beverage. So basically something that brews faster and does not pull out as much coffee will produce a sweeter beverage. That's where you find the sweetest of beverages.
Interesting.
I'm wondering if we're trying to get sweetness, would grind size make a huge difference?
You know, I was assuming that going with a finer grind might get more sweetness. But based on what you just said, lower extraction being more key to sweetness.
Faster extraction would be, the key to sweetness.
Okay, so I mean, I'm doing the opposite now. Because grind size is always so important.
Especially with a pressurized method like this. Like if it's going to have a lot more contact time, you're going to have a lot more bitterness. I'm interested in this one. So the goal here is to see, with this, we're looking at like a 1:6 to 1:8 ratio. Let's try to see if how low we can get the TDS on the extraction.
Okay.
So we'll do the experiment together, and then I'll test and see what the extraction was.
I forgot to check what size. I don't think we need the same size Moka Pot, but I think you have a bigger one than I do.
Yours is aluminum as well. Mine's a stainless steel. So there's a difference in conductivity. So the heating time is going to be a little different. Now, have you brewed with this coffee before?
Yeah. I've used it in AeroPress and pour over.
Never used it. So what are we doing with grind? We're going a little looser to try to get it faster, right?
Yeah.
Wow, this smells beautiful. I'm sorry, this is my first time.
Okay.
So we're going 25 grams to 315 grams of water. Hey, have you ever tried AeroPress filters in your Moka Pot?
No. What's that supposed to do?
Adds pressure, and it blocks the fines to make it a little cleaner cut. I could use more coffee, but I'm going to stick, for continuity, I'm going to stick with 25 grams.
So I got about 6 grams of coffee, 60 grams of water.
Let's see. 315 divided by 25 is 12.6. Okay. 12.6 to 1. All right, so you let me know when you're ready to start. My water is up to temp. My everything. Should I start or should I wait?
Yeah, go and start. I have started.
You started? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I like to brew with mine open on the top so I can see when it starts to like spew out. One good trick I learned is to freeze a towel.
It's to what? It's up?
Freeze a towel.
Oh.
So this is a really good trick with a Moka Pot, because if you freeze the towel, a lot of the times at the end, when it's like spewing out all that foam, that's where that burnt bitter taste comes from.
Uh-huh.
You just stop the brew by sitting it on a cold towel.
Okay.
Wow, this really smells good. I haven't done an Ethiopian in the Moka Pot. Do you like Ethiopian espressos?
As far as espresso goes, all I know is that I really like my espresso to hit those like dark chocolate and caramel notes more than I do in my like regular coffee.
Like a velvety, yeah, I like that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. You're more espresso. Oh, yeah, mine's is already brewing.
Oh, snap.
It's like already going like full speed.
Okay. Oh, mine just started. What kind of temp you got it set to? Like medium?
Here it going crazy over here.
Hmm.
Right. Just, that was quick.
Yeah.
Like, this is no bypass, no nothing. This is just straight brewed through.
I was a little slow with my chilled out towel, so it brewed a little extra, but
Yeah, mine's got a little crazy, but it like worked out perfect timing. That was really quick. So we do know that the hot water makes it very fast. Yours is done too?
mine's done too.
Oh, see, there we go.
Perfect. One check.
So
Okay.
now,
Kind of. Alright.
now's the name of the sweet. Ooh, wow. Wow, this is like the prettiest smelling coffee I've had in a very long time.
Yeah. It's nice.
His next project should be a coffee cologne.
Oh, shit. That would sell.
Much just strong check.
Okay.
Looks really good. Looks super clean cut. Check this looks like it's came out pretty good.
Oh, yeah. I love the smell.
How'd it come out? Wow. Okay. That's not bad for this strong of a beverage. Mine came out at 1.9 TDS.
Mm.
Wow. It's crazy. The amount of acidity is still there.
Yeah. I expected it to come out more bitter.
You know what? There's a little bit of sourness in there, and I think that's because it's a high, we did like a 12 to 1, 12.6 to 1, but it brewed really fast.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it's like very strong. But I wouldn't say sour, but the acidity is pretty high for, especially for like the brew method.
I do get that sourness. Yeah, I feel like it should have extracted more.
Should have extracted more, right?
Yeah. It's not bad though. Like I still get the brown sugar at least. I'm sure as it cools, I'm interested in what that'll taste like.
Yeah, get the brown sugar. There's like some star fruit or something in there because it's like.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out the right word for this acidity and said sour. That's the closest I can think of too.
It's weird because it doesn't go with the other notes of it. It's like kind of like you get some tea notes in there, you get brown sugar, everything is sweet and subtle, and then you get like this random lemonade punch.
That sour is kind of throwing me. I don't know, but I also think I over brewed because I wasn't able to stop the bubbling as fast as I would have liked to. So that could be in there.
Yeah, mine was going a lot faster than I expected, so it was hard to slow it down.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
But I would think that would give more bitterness, that part at the end.
Yeah. Yeah. So that could be probably what's messing me up. What was the TDS again? Mind you, it's not going to mean anything to me because I don't know what a good amount is.
Okay, 1.93. I think, well, not I think. If you look at like a brew chart, ideally they're trying to get to like 1.35 with like a 22% yield.
Okay.
But by brew method, this changes now because if I go with a higher water ratio, I'm obviously going to get less extraction.
Mm-hmm.
If I over extract, if I have finer grind, more contact times, obviously more bitter, a stronger brew. That's how you go up in TDS, a higher percentage of actual coffee in the beverage.
Okay.
So it is a matter of playing with it back. That's kind of like why I like the siphon. It's very easy to isolate variables to change in order to see where the change comes from.
Another interesting thing is that my water is pretty much clean at the bottom of my unused water in my Moka Pot. Usually, there's a decent amount of grounds I got through.
You get a lot of. Do you think it's because you went like coarser on the grind? I think the acidity and maybe that might be a big factor. The coarser grind made it extract a lot faster.
Yeah.
And that's where we still get that high acidity and that sourness.
Yeah. Okay.
I noticed like any type of pressurized brew, like Ethiopian coffee, the density, like it just expands so much.
I actually could have, like, once I ground my coffee, I realized I could have gone coarser. It's still pretty fine. It's just slightly coarser than what I would do. It's about what I might normally do for like an AeroPress.
Interested in learning more about the AeroPress from someone of my cultural background.
Do you use the AeroPress much?
No, that's like the one brew method I'm not good at.
Okay.
And the thing is, I've never seen a recipe that kind of worked for me. Like whenever I've used it, too many variables that I couldn't get right. I think for me, I like a brew method where the heat consistency is a little bit better. So like plastic brewers lose heat a little bit too much for me.
Okay.
It's just a couple of things there where I'm like, somebody has to show me something that works for me to be ordered to like then go off and experiment.
Yeah. What's the do you remember like the most common types of like recipes you've tried?
For AeroPress?
Yeah. Like, do you try some that use the bypass or allow for a bloom or just all the water at once?
Bypass recipes I've had has made it better because like what I noticed is everybody has like a super concentrated low ratio for their AeroPress. It's like a 6-1, or like almost like an espresso shot.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I think I've done like, it's hard to remember now because I guess I've done like let's say a 20 gram or 30 gram as a 6-1 with a bypass that'll bring it up to an 8-1, and that brings a little bit more clarity to it. But going with a finer grind, picking that correct water temp or immersion time and all that, I'm a noob there. I'm willing to just sit back, shut up, and learn.
Okay. I can't claim to be an expert on the AeroPress, but it's probably one of the ones I've experimented more with. The bypass methods didn't work for me when I tried those, and neither did just brewing a full cup of coffee at once. A bloom seems to be working out for me. My taste gets very picky when it comes to the AeroPress. Like each part of the timing matters more than the pour over. But yeah, if you were hinting at me being the person to learn from with AeroPress, I'm more than happy. What's that?
I see you use it a lot though.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's misleading. It also could just be, I'm my own worst critic. But yeah, let's sit down and talk about the AeroPress sometime, and then you can tell me if it sounds like I'm full of shit. All right, we ready for the second round?
Let's do it. So, oh shit, I gotta make sure I have enough water.
Okay, all right.
All right, so second rotation now. What are we trying? What are we doing different?
We are going to start with cold water, unless there was something. It sounded like, was there something else you wanted to try this round with the Moka Pot?
Wonder if we do a finer grind.
Okay.
Because then that should get rid of the sourness.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that gets us to a sweeter spot, do you think?
Okay, yeah, let's try that. Although since I already have cold water in my Moka Pot, let's do cold water.
All right, that's cool.
We'll the ground.
Yeah, I got cold water right here. Let me finish mixing this real quick.
Okay.
So we're sticking with the same grind size now.
Same grind size.
All right, so what qualifies a person to be a blerd? You get jumped in, or how's this work?
No, you know what? It's pretty easy. If you consider yourself to be a nerd on any topic, coffee or otherwise, and you are Black, you are a blerd.
I like that. That's really cool. Okay, I'm down.
How has your experience been as a Black person starting out in coffee, or whenever you decided that like you were gonna be serious about coffee? Was it hard for you to find a community in coffee right away? Did you feel welcome by everyone, or did it stand out to you in any particular way that you might have been like maybe one of the only Black people around you in coffee?
That's tough because it's like, I guess it kind of boils down to information. Like, I'm not gonna lie, when I first started, it was just more people that I knew that were not Black that had information and equipment. It was just the thing is like I was the only Black person that I knew that was into it when I got into it. And I think the bigger thing was just like there's no one Black culture. So you know what I mean? Like there's different types of culture. And like coming from LA, I had seen a different side of culture than the culture I was walking into. So the weird part was like I don't know how many other cities have like their school system set up to where like you have these pockets of like super hood areas that have these specialized school programs, but like LA has these spots where like you got some gangbanging doctors. Like seriously, it's very different. From a cultural standpoint, it was very weird because I was able to connect with people on the educational side because I was really into science my whole life. So whenever it got down to a conversation on science, I was an equal in the room. But then when it came down to like the cultural epithet of like feeling comfortable, it was kind of weird being around other Black people because I wasn't walking into situations settled with any information given to me. Like just off of the science side, like I'm inquisitive. Like once you walk into the room and you're the person with the most information in the room, nobody can demean your conversation. Like it's not like anybody can look at you as a small person. So like yeah, you go through in the beginning. I think in any adult activity, people who have been invested in it may chastise those who are introduced to it with an excitement that don't have any information. And they can tell when they talk to you that you're using words that you just looked up, but you don't really know what's going on. So I think really the biggest thing for me was always to independently know, like don't ask a question that you can find the answer for yourself. Once I looked at that part, like the whole racial thing probably wasn't as big of an issue. When I started getting into more professional fields, I found it different being in a Black position where certain people had to adjust to how I give directions or how I instruct things.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was probably the biggest take, you know, and then for me, it's also a thing of just learning how to adjust how you respond to things. And that's like one of the things where, like I said, for me, a big part of it is hiding behind science. Like I'm not gonna argue with anybody in coffee because once I go ahead and pull some data and show you what it is, like there's no opinion to argue over it.
Yeah.
But I pretty much I wouldn't allow anybody to make me feel less than anyone else in the room. So I didn't really deal with a lot of the side effects. And then I had a lot of cool, I'm gonna be real, I had a lot of cool white shop owners that guided me in the right direction since they saw that I was looking for things for myself. And that's different because it may not be handing out an opportunity, but showing somebody where they could become self-sufficient is still valuable.
Mm-hmm.
I got a lot of that. People being like, hey, if you do this for yourself, nobody could deny your value. So like that's very different from somebody, you know. And I'll be real with you, I've never been a barista. I've never been at the entry level or the retail level of coffee. When I started in it, it was a commercial thing. It was like, that's a different conversation. That's the whole mortgage ready conversation. What my goal was at that age was not to fulfill a customer service role. It was to fulfill like the goal of creating something that could be shared universally.
Okay.
So it's like you can make somebody's day making an espresso, but like let's say you make the drink that everybody drinks in the morning. That's when you made everybody's day. It's a little different.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to like match this recipe perfectly. I'm sorry. I'm like rambling.
Cool.
I'm sorry.
No, big deal.
What started you working in coffee?
It's a multifaceted answer. What I originally got into coffee for it was I had to like come back home for this family emergency. So it became like I need a job right now, uh, and I like coffee shops. So I'm gonna work at the Starbucks close by me. So I just needed a job basically, but I did hone in onto coffee just because I always liked the vibe of coffee shops. I still at that point was not really into coffee or interested in coffee. I didn't make yeah, just I've always liked the feeling of being in a coffee shop smelling coffee because it reminded me of my grandmother. That's kind of like what I would search for in every coffee shop that I went into. Um, Books lining the walls and smelling it solely like coffee, not the syrups or the pastries or anything, because that's what my grandmother's house would smell like every morning. I stayed over like coffee, and so that's like what I would always be looking for. But then I found out that there was all this interesting science behind coffee, all the different ways to brew it, and how you can use science to figure out the best ways to brew it. And there's an element of creativity in it because you can use the science to help you number wise, but then there's so much opinion and preference surrounding it. You can get creative. Uh, and I found out there were a lot of people who were just like felt free to be themselves more than the corporate environment I had just left. So all that really attracted me and kept me in coffee. I like, let me see what this is all about. It seems like there's really something to this industry that I ignored before because it just seemed like a customer service job, which I was not made for, uh, especially not in the neighborhoods that I've been like working in. It's
I feel like it's a whole generation of like black people in coffee whose grandparents introduced them to it. Everybody is just like, oh, I was drinking with my grandparents, and that's what got me going. Like, our parents did not push that wave. It's the generation before us, and I feel like that was my connection as a kid that started me out trying to feel grown, waking up at 5 a.m., going on walks with my grandfather, having coffee. And are you ready to rock?
I'm ready.
All right, I'm cutting the jets on.
Okay, me too.
I've seen so much that I've learned within. One thing that intrigued me with watching you was that you had a lot of video editing skill.
Yeah.
Like you're like I was like, damn, I have to connect with her because I wanted to work on my online presence within the coffee community. And I'm like, I come off like a middle-aged man with how I treat a cell phone and video. Like it's sad.
I won't lie, that was my first impression when I first started following you.
It was like, yeah, like, hello. So I need help with that.
Okay. Yeah, marketing was a previous life. I first did it in corporate environment and I was doing it freelance for a little while. Um, and I've always been interested in video editing. I just started doing it in the last couple years, but ooh, it was going.
It's going already?
Yeah. Yeah, I keep getting caught.
That alone looks like a huge difference because mine has not started yet. I went with cold water. We went with cold water to start, right?
Yeah.
My water was at, let me look at my fridge temp, 40 degrees. Mine is taking way longer than when I do with hot water. It hasn't even started. Like it was immediate with hot water.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. Yeah, both of ours seem to start at roughly the same time and finish around the same time when we started with hot water, despite the different sizes. How much water is in yours again?
15. Keep in mind, I think the biggest difference is you're using aluminum and I'm using stainless steel.
Oh, okay. Gotcha, yeah.
I don't know why they don't make a Moka Pot with a copper bottom. That would make so much sense. Heat conductivity.
Mm-hmm.
And a glass upper. Okay, now we're cooking with fire. I see us moving on.
This smells more like the coffee I'm used to from this.
It's as fragrant as the first one? I definitely burned my finger. Wow, that's amazing.
Damn, bro. Be careful.
It's the cost of fame.
That's true.
So what keeps you going within the coffee industry now? Like having seen it, having sought it out, having started to like get past what is imagery and get involved, being a part of events. What's like making you say, all right, this is why I plan on being here next year, the year after?
Part of it is this is the industry I pretty much felt the most comfortable, or at least the most potential for me to be more of myself in. There's been I'm a bit of a chronic. I have been a chronic job hopper, um, industry career searcher. So like my mom told me once that it seemed like I was always looking for something every time I switched jobs and just haven't found yet. And it's something like a community where I can be valued and actually share something to, like, contribute to. All the potential and the elements are there. There's obviously like a dope community that I'm starting to find. People like yourself have been willing to like do this podcast with me, so that adds to like any kind of value I can contribute, because I'm finding that, like, okay, yeah, I'm finding my place here. But before, when I first got into coffee, what kept me going was like there was a feeling that I could find it, but it wasn't there to start with, because I was still finding that it seemed like I had to prove myself. Like I was gathering knowledge about coffee, and it reached a point where I knew more about coffee than most of my coworkers, which it's fine to a lot of people. It's just, a quick job in and out. But I was working with a lot of people that acted like I know everything about coffee, but like, I'm like doing my own research, and now I'm like, I've surpassed you in knowledge, but you're still acting like you're a peer, and to them, everyone else is down here. It's like, what? This doesn't make sense.
Exactly what I'm saying. It's way different when it's like, I'm not waiting for you to regurgitate me what someone told you for me to feel like this is all that there is to know about this. Like once I start searching and I see like, oh, it's like part of my French, but it's like, wow, I did the research and then I found you don't know shit. Like that's the first thing you see. Like, wow, okay. Most of this is like, let's take a bit of information. Let's make it seem exclusive now. And then it's like, we can't even tell you where that information came from.
Yeah. Yeah, so it was getting really frustrating, like, to experience that when I saw, like, the potential of me being able to contribute. Like, because all you need is someone who is passionate, someone who is doing the research and knows more than, like, maybe just the average Joe. That's all you need for someone to be able to contribute to something. And, like, that's where I was. I was at that level because I was really loving coffee, so I was doing the research, and it seemed to be more than the other people. What was missing was the other people didn't seem to realize that. So it's like,
this is the other side of that, though. And I feel like this isn't a coffee specific issue. I feel like in the industry, this is something my father told me when I was young, like, you're going to have to be better than everyone else in the room to be treated as an equal because you're black. So you being the smartest person in the room just makes you equal to everyone in the room now. Now they feel like they won't demean your opinion. But it doesn't put you in the place that it should put you where now you're the go-to person that they're looking for that information. And that's the sad part. It's kind of like, and that's where you have to find the middle ground and value. That's like the hardest part with this thing is like, it's almost set up and rigged to be a game for the young people who will keep a high turnover because there's no long-term sustainability. For the longest... Huh?
No, that's interesting. I hadn't thought of it specifically in that way, that it's set up for those people that are just kind of going in and out.
Yeah, it's set up for turnover because if I can get like inexpensive labor, and if I can get a lot of work out of you, like it's about volume. That's where money is made in coffee. It's not an expensive product. It's just a product that's sold in high volume.
Yeah.
So it's not like, you don't see too many people that are 10 and 15 years in their coffee career that have transitioned to some consultation role or something bigger for you. It's interesting that with this, you still have the acidity, but it's more balanced than before.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Hmm. Yeah, that first one with hot water is way sour. I'm starting to taste.
Is this cool? As you get more, it leans more towards the sourness.
Yeah, yeah. That's it. I didn't taste that at all at first. When I first took a sip off when it was like freshly hot, I didn't taste sourness at all. But yeah, as it cools, I'm getting that. Hmm. Okay, interesting. The TDS was what on this one again?
1.24.
What was the first one?
First one was 1.9.
Okay.
So this one, I don't know. For mine, it took a lot longer to brew. I guess for the water to heat up, but it extracted less coffee. Like I guess it was a faster extraction. I don't know. It's very interesting. Oh, but I do see, well, with naturals, you'll notice a little bit of color variation because it's very hard to get a uniform density. But
Okay.
so I just take it that this is a lighter roasted coffee. This is where brew method matters. Maybe this coffee plays better with a pour over method.
Yeah. Okay.
It's built around capturing most of that acidity.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, that's certainly been my experience. But it's very cool to hear a little bit more as to why that's the case. Interesting. And yeah, my water's a lot more it's a lot dirtier this round.
So it's a lot more they went back into the water, huh?
What's that?
It's a lot more they went back into the water.
Yeah. Yeah. That's I don't know if that's
Oh yeah, because it takes a lot longer. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Let's see. So definitely time wise, hot is a lot more efficient. But flavor wise, what do you think? Which one do you think, aside from acidity?
So I still like the one we started with cold water. It was a lot more balanced, and it's a big win for me that it didn't start off with acidity or strong acidity.
The acidity now is a little crazy.
Yeah, now it might have like reached the same acidity.
Yeah.
Now that they're cool, but I don't know. That's kind of blowing my mind that they can be so different to start and then cool off to about the same in that area.
Which, like, if it was high acidity in the beginning and that, like, calmed down as we went in, I would think, okay, the water's hot. It's the first portion of it. But that's why I'm like, well, maybe this is a characteristic of the flavor of the coffee. Like, really sharp acidity. There we go. That's the term. Sharp acidity.
I didn't expect to learn so much.
You know, it's funny because there's no uniform Black culture. So within the coffee community, you have a cadre of different Black people from different cultures that now feel like, oh, how do we homogenize to one group? That's a very difficult task. But I think individually, if we all find different avenues or aspects to communicate so that we can learn from each other, we can kind of create our own new culture.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Hey, yes. Awesome. Yes. That is totally, that's actually like one of the reasons that I even got to do stuff with coffee via video. Because looking, since part of my like learning technique or whatever is visual, I look up a lot of coffee videos on YouTube. And I did not see anything that was of a culture that I am the most comfortable with. It's like with just about anything. If you have more diversity, if you have a representation of more cultures, way of doing things, way of talking, way of presenting things that people can learn from, or just kind of like it within an industry, the more people you're going to attract to it, to learning about that, the more informative, the more like the greater pool of information you're going to have. Everything benefits from diversity and more representation. I can see a lot of people being kind of turned off from coffee or anything if they don't see a representation of themselves.
It's so crazy. Like, I remember going to SCA, and at the time I was working for a Taiwanese company. So clearly, like, I stood out. Like, I was the one speck of pepper in the land of salt. So I'm at SCA, and it was so funny when all of the African coffee producers would see me, how they would just beeline straight. They wouldn't even look at anybody else at my booth. Like the conversation was so direct. Like it was beautiful. Like it really changed my love for coffee to see like that was the coolest thing to see at SCA. Like when you go and you see the green bean importers and like all those different regions, they have it separated by here. So like you go to like Africa, it's like Burundi, Ethiopia, Kenya, and it's just like that was one of the most beautiful displays of culture to learn from. That was probably the most beneficial part of SCA. Are you going cold or hot?
Cold. I'm done with that hot, unless it works better with a different coffee.
We're doing what, smaller grind size now? Hey, so with the glitter cat thing, like, are you like officially with the SCA now? Are you going to be in all the cool events and talking and doing all the educator stuff?
Not that I know of. I do not know exactly how to be a part of that, and no one's asked me, so that's all adding up to a no.
All right, so I went to like almost the finest grind size, like what they would use on a Prismo.
Okay.
AeroPress. One thing about that with that I noticed with the Moka Pot, it gives you a lot more volume.
Mm.
So sometimes it could be like a lot of coffee.
Yeah. So are you trying to match the volume or the weight with this coffee?
Everything I match weight first. Milliliters and grams are equal, so that's how I pretty much do the ratio. But like 315 on the water each one, 25 on the coffee. That way, I mean, I try to make it as uniform as possible.
Yes. Generally, I would be doing the same. With this Moka Pot, I'm doing it a little different. It's pretty much like I'm weighing everything, but I'm mostly going off of volume and then using the weight to just make sure it's not too different. Just because it seems like this tiny little Moka Pot makes it a lot more convenient to go by volume. Like it has just the exact,
Measurements.
Yeah.
Are you a big cup drinker, or do you like small portions of coffee?
Okay, I am ready.
All right, I'm gonna spark this. So I think yours is faster than mine because it might be a little smaller.
Yeah.
Assumptions today.
Oof. This is always catching me off guard. You're distracting me. That's what it is. All right, there we go.
It was my fault, huh?
Yeah.
Women on black men.
That's the way we do it.
It's cool.
Yeah, that's you know how it is. It's America.
I hear mine getting ready to go. It goes so fast.
Yeah. I've noticed that the cold water starters have less foam on top after the brew.
You know what? So you saw how your water was dirtier before?
Yeah.
This would be a good experiment to try. Put the AeroPress filter in the bottom and then put the coffee grounds over it and see if it blocks the fines from going. I did it in the top and had an explosion. I would not try it at the top.
Okay. All right.
Okay, now we're on fire.
Damn, that doesn't sound good. Yeah, I saw a video where someone did this test with filters in like an actual espresso machine. They put one, the bottom and the top, and it seemed to work for them in the espresso machine within the safety of like a highly compressed puck. But yeah, they got more TDS out of that shot than using one filter in either place or no filter.
That was what inspired this one. But I think you have higher pressure, so it's easier to extract and get it cleaner. I'm not sure, but I definitely know with this, I had a time with that experiment.
Okay.
All right, cool. Now I've got. I'll show you the shot, like the IG version. This one smells really good.
Yeah, better than the others?
Yeah, so this is the finer grind. Let's see if we got rid of the... We did hot and cold water first with the same grind size, right?
Yes.
So now this is to eliminate the factor of maybe the grind size being too loose and producing the acidity. If we still have that acidity now, it's not the grind size, it's not the water temp.
Okay. Mm.
I feel like we're cupping with a purpose. We're searching for something here.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that.
Yes.
I don't know. I'll let you try it.
It's really hot, so let me try to see. Well, let me see what the extraction is. Way no acidity, none of the peaked acidity.
What?
Does yours have it?
Yeah. But again, that might have been my bad because I missed the stopping point of the brew. Like it went longer again, like kind of like the first one.
But I don't think that would make it sour though. Like
No?
here's the thing. TDS is 1.45.
Okay, what was the order? 1.9, 1.2?
9 was the first one with hot water.
Okay.
1.2 was the second one with cold water.
Hmm.
This is a little higher with the finer grind size, which makes sense because it's extracting more coffee.
Mm-hmm.
But I just tried it at its hottest, so I'll say that this is the most balanced on the first taste that I've had.
Okay.
I still get some of that. Yeah, this is slightly underdeveloped. That's the taste that I'm getting on the back end now.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think I tried it at its hottest. I should have, but yeah, I'm tasting like I get that.
A little peanutty, lemon.
Yeah. That's interesting. I've always been curious about how different coffees can be at their best with different brew methods. But I also kind of always assumed that it was more purely like personal preference, like how you prefer this particular coffee to taste. This seems like it's just objectively better, not as espresso, or at least in the Moka Pot brew.
I agree. I feel like that Moka Pot lends towards a flavor, like you were mentioning earlier with what you expect in an espresso, like a dark, heavy mouthfeel, chocolatey flavor, which is indicative of a more caramelized, darker roast. And remember when I was saying the brick pack coffees that I've had, typically degas that are a lot darker, produce sweet, dark roasted flavors. But when you start to play with coffees that are a little bit lighter, now we're seeing like it's not really a brew method that lends itself to coffees with acidity.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
You want to go with some, and like I said, like that milk bypass, that water bypass, I've used that on much darker coffees, and it's created a really good flavor with Moka Pot. But if I was to see something that had some type of fruit notes in it or anything like the high acidity, I probably wouldn't go with this method.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah, that fits with what I hypothesized, but never really tried out. I just figured, well, it must just be because I don't really think it that way. But yeah, no, it just seems consistent. Interesting. Okay. Well, we've definitely accomplished what I came here to do, which was learn some stuff and have some interesting conversation. So I really appreciate you coming on for that.
Controversial show.
That's right. Hot takes, all the latest controversy, gossip.
Yeah, Bart gonna kill you for talking shit about his coffee. You said.
That's right. I asked for it. Yeah, we will talk later.
All right, cool. Have a good one. Let me know how this goes.
Will do. Cheers.